Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This year, as part of our coverage of ATX Television Festival Season 8, I was lucky enough to chat with Greek executive producers Shawn and Lloyd Segan. Hope you enjoy.
This is Les with the TV Dudes. We're a local podcast that about 8 years we've done weekly TV crit, and a couple times a week we do interviews. Do you mind both introducing yourselves?
Sure. I'm Shawn, executive producer of Greek.
And I'm Lloyd Segan, partnered with Shawn in our company, Pillar Segan, and we have the privilege of being executive producers of Greek.
I got to compliment your Cypress Roads hat.
Thank you.
It's great.
Thank you very much. Dug it out of my closet. We were debating who gets to wear it. I put it on first, so I'm winning.
Yes. Make sure I'm not blowing out the levels on that. So, Greek was a show that I watched. I've seen all of it at least twice.
Wow.
It was one of those shows where I hate the term guilty pleasure, because just enjoy what you enjoy.
Yeah.
But it was ones where friends of mine had no idea that I was binge watching this show. Because at this point in my life, I have a lot of people that don't know that I was in a fraternity in college. And people who know me now find that baffling.
Right.
But for me, watching the show, there was something between the two fraternities. The image we thought we were with the Animal House Wild, I'm sure that's how we felt we were coming off. And then how we were really coming off, which was khakis and tucked-in shirts. For y'all, what drew you to the show? What made you want to put this on the air and help shepherd it from page to my living room?
That's a great question. We were both in fraternities.
Do you mind me asking what?
I was a SIGEP.
Phi Delta Theta.
Lambda Chi Alpha.
And I went to a small liberal arts college, and he went to a fairly large university. And I'm still extraordinarily close to my fraternity brothers, and it's a long time ago. I did have dark hair in college, so that could tell you something. And 40 plus years later, we've been through all of the ups and downs of our lives, all the life cycle events that are wonderful, and all the ones that need the support. And even though that 4 years by a timeline seems diminutive, at that time in your life, it's actually substantial. It represents probably a quarter of your life that you are hanging out with the same group of young men and really going through quite a bit together. For many, it's their first time being away from home. Certainly the first time experimenting with all kinds of things. But most importantly, deep friendships and brotherhoods. And so for the two of us, we experienced that. And Shawn, I have to say, is the one that gets full credit.
The other Shawn.
Patrick Shawn Smith. Because we actually had read Greek as a pilot spec script. It was sent to us. We were
Doing a series called Wildfire. And I was at the gym, he was somewhere, and we had the meeting later that day with him to see if we're going to hire him. And so I'm cramming my homework, like in college, like we're pounding out the script in the morning to see if we like the kid. And I'm 20 pages into the script, and I'm calling him going, hey, we're hiring this kid, and I want to make this pilot. He's like, dude, I'm way ahead of you, we're making this pilot, I want to make this pilot. So the meeting with Shawn is sort of awkward in that he's just a kid trying to come to get a job as a staff writer on a TV show. And him and I are like, so we really like the script. And he's like, oh, and he wants to talk about Wildfire. We're like, Wildfire's fine. We want to talk about Greek. So we basically
This is no longer an interview for Wildfire. No. This is about making Greek.
Correct.
That's great.
And we told him our stories about being in fraternities and how that had affected us. And what we liked about the show was that it was about, the brothers and sisters were Cappy and Casey and Rusty, but it became an extended family.
Yes.
And we knew that there was really only one college show that we could remember, which was Felicity. And we thought this was fresh territory, that it's that tween years when you're, like you said, when you're away from your parents, but you're not quite an adult, and you get to make all your bad decisions or your good decisions. And it was a way for us to go back and sort of live those days, and tell stories that you had seen in other, like Animal House, like other movies that were sort of set in college, but this really sort of encapsulated that set in sort of what we thought was like the 80s John Hughes world, which is some of my favorite movies. You know, we had the bar named Dobler's, named after Lloyd Dobler. So what was already in the script, we just helped sort of execute with Shawn. And for us, it's really about, the reason we make any show is the voice of the writer, the vision of the writer. And even though he didn't have it all figured out, all 7 seasons, or where he had enough that convinced us that not only to hire him on Wildfire, but let's make the show, and we believed in him personally too.
I know it's been a while since those initial meetings, but do you remember any particular surprises or hiccups in the road of trying to get it from a pilot you love to a series engine that can really go?
There's a story about we were telling this to Jacob Zachar last night over drinks, which, by the way, I'm still hungover. I'm back in Greek, and it's like, boom, we're back in Greek. I'm like, oh,
ribs and brisket.
Yeah,
that'll do it.
Yeah,
meat hangover's real, man.
Yeah.
Well, we covered so much stuff last night that I'm not.
Well, basically, there was a scene because we ended up being kind of the studio on the show too, because ABC Family was new. They didn't have the infrastructure set up to be a studio, so we became kind of the studio, our company. So we were on the hook for the budget. So if we went over budget, it was on us. It wasn't like so. There was a scene when you turn in the budget and we're prepping the pilot, and Gil Younger's there with the director, and we have to have that tough come to Jesus talk about what are you guys going to cut? This is too expensive. We need to cut some scenes, cut a day of shooting out. And they were like, great, cut a day. You can cut some scenes. This is the scenes we think you should cut. And we were like, we're not cutting those scenes. Those are such an important scene. And it was Rusty meeting Dale in the pilot, where the science day, that whole thing with the robots and stuff, and we just thought that was such a defining moment for Rusty that we called the network back and said, we'll pay for those scenes. And they were like, okay. And it was the quickest phone call I've ever been on. They were like, great, you pay for them. Click, great. Hung up. And then we shot the pilot, we turned it in, and they said, first of all, amazing. They loved it. They were like in tears, so happy, and they said, you were so right about that scene that we'll pay for it. And we were like, thank God. Or we actually found money to pay for it.
That's great, though.
Well, I think that, believe it or not, it was 2 scenes that they wanted to cut. But they
can't remember the other scenes.
And in fairness to the network, they were incredibly supportive.
Super supportive. Kate Jurgen, Brooke Bowman, Marcy Cooperstein.
That's right. And it was Brooke who gave us the introduction to Shawn. And it's really, you talk about faith in a concept and faith in the people to execute it. Got to give them their props. It was something completely different than that network had ever done before.
But the funny thing is, we had their first hit show with that network on the map, which was called Wildfire. We pitched as the OC Biscuit, which was the OC meets the Biscuit. Horse racing and hotties and horses, 3 H's. And we did. Paul Lee ended up ordering that show, and he got that show. He's a British guy. He didn't understand what fraternities were, because he's from England. They don't have fraternities for it. He's like, what is it, like supper clubs? What is this? And he's like, it's like Harry Potter. And so his leap of faith, not just in the script, but in his team, Kate Jurgen and Willow, but really in us, that he had the balls and they had the foresight to put a fraternity show on the air, on a network called ABC Family. And that's kind of circling back to what you said about thinking, why would I sort of guilty pleasure of watching this show. We would walk into every network meeting during the making of that show and years later, and every meeting would start like this, and it'd be an executive your age or older, and they'd say, before the meeting started, we just have to tell you, Greek is our favorite show, and we're so embarrassed that we watch it. And I'm like, why are you embarrassed to watch it? Because no one wanted to watch ABC Family back then.
I think that's the thing.
They thought it was a family show.
Yeah,
exactly. And so we, between Wildfire and then Greek and then Pretty Little Liars and some of the other shows, they turned that brand, and then they literally changed it to Freeform.
Yeah.
We kept pitching them, can you please call the network ABCF? Just like anything, get rid of the family. And so that was sort of, I think, the impression.
What was actually a neat phenomenon, and was that many families did watch it together.
Yeah.
Whether it was a family that had been through similar experiences than Shawn and I did in their college at the time, or they just thought the show aspirationally, from the way that we handle subject matters, emotional realism, the groundedness, no matter how heightened the reality, it was done with truth and authenticity. And that, I think, resonated with people regardless of the generation.
Yeah.
And nostalgia. I think for people like us that were older that wanted to relive those days or relive them in a way that made, at the time when you're going through stuff, you never appreciate it. It's like youth is wasted on the young. This show was for people that missed their college years, even though they had them, that they were just too drunk, too stupid, they slept through class, they did whatever. Now they get to go back. No one wants to go to high school again.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to
Honestly,
go to college.
I never understood the premise of Twilight. If I get immortality and I go back to high school, stake me. That's a terrible plan.
That's hell. Pure
Yeah.
and pure.
It's funny.
It sounds awful.
Yeah, and they spent very little time in the school, which was actually one of the things that we did on Wildfire, which was Kate Jurgen said, we don't.
No
They're
lockers.
kids. They're in no lockers, and the show's only in the summer, so they don't go to school. We don't want to care about school. No backpacks.
They're 40 years old, but somehow.
And Greek, we did school episodes, but it was sort of like the special episodes. Like, oh, we're going to class with them.
Well, I mean, I guarantee when the three of us think about college, none of us think about the inside of a classroom necessarily. Like when you're joyously recalling college, it's out in the quad with your friends or intramural or yeah.
Where'd you go to school?
University of Tulsa for 2 years, and then I transferred to Texas, and now I still live here, which is what most Texas alumni do.
It's a pretty fabulous place, I have to say. I mean, I just did a run through the campus.
I still love the campus. It's beautiful.
Incredible. I can't believe how much building and new stuff. And
Well, Shawn Smith went to Austin, and Gil Younger, the director of the pilot, also went here. And it was fun for us we shot Cypress Roads, we created this fictional college, and it was based on everyone. It was sort of a smorgasbord of the best looking colleges all over the world. And I went to USC, and I kept trying to shoot it at USC, and USC was like having none of it. But UCLA, I was like, we can't shoot the show at UCLA. And they were like, well, they're a lot cheaper, and they'll be nicer. So we ended up shooting at UCLA, and the whole time I was just like, why are we not shooting this at USC?
yeah, that was a mothership campus for us, and Caltech.
Okay.
Which was another gorgeous. They had names on buildings that I didn't even understand what those subjects were. They were so in a whole nother.
And we built a lot of the sets. We were shot at CBS Radford, so what was the Seinfeld New York Street became our Westwood or here 6th Street.
Okay.
Downtown.
Kind of dragged. Yeah.
So we put the theater in, the Titans Theater, and then we built all the fraternity houses in the basement of this parking garage at CBS Radford that no one wanted to build in. And we took over, 80,000 square feet or something, and built all these fraternities, and then we sheeted the fraternity houses in Hancock Park. And other, and put up all the letters and just created our own patchwork of this university.
For me, it was both. It wasn't just a half-hour sitcom about my fraternity years. It had real heart, and like you said, it really tackles the stories with seriousness of what happens to these characters and how they grow and bond across college. But it also gave me the opportunity to go back and revisit the fun of those 80s teen comedies, which are not always as fun as they were to go back and watch now. Sometimes those jokes cross lines, and it was wonderful as a proof of concept for me, honestly, to watch Greek and have a way to frame my own memories of college and fun and stuff without comparing them necessarily to those movies.
Right.
And seeing that, like, oh, no, these stories can be now and can be fun. This genre of movie can live on.
Right.
They're perennial. Right?
Yes.
And we dealt with all the race, class, gender, sex. We were nominated for several GLAAD awards.
I'm proud of the work that we did on substantive issues.
And creating, and basically taking the curse off of subjects that had been dealt with maybe in, say, 90210 or angsty shows, and we would poke fun at them. We'd deal with them, but through a lens that made it accessible. There was first show I ever...
being preachy, right?
Yes.
The first show I ever wrote for, and one of his big shows that brought us together, frankly, through my father, was Star Trek was a way to tell stories about the present day but set in the future. Greek was a way to tell stories about contemporary society, but through beer goggles and parties and fun, and there was always a moral and ethical core to and theme to every episode. And Shawn really worked hard to try to unify all the different storylines and all the different sort of supporting cast to fit into one sort of what's this episode about, and it would told through Cappy and Casey, or told through a breakup of a relationship and what that's like. So it was interesting to have sort of a dual family situation. There was a brother and sister who were dealing with brothers and sisters, and them learning about how to deal with their parents, how to deal with breakups, how to deal with each other in a way that most people don't get the opportunity to deal with their family members. And in some ways, you're strangers to you're closer to your friends than your family sometimes.
Yeah. You go off and learn how to be an adult, and then these people don't know that person.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for your time today.
I really appreciate that you appreciate the show, man.
Yeah.
Very
love
good
making it,
actually.
Yeah.
Well, you could see you took it to heart, which is
I enjoyed it, and I'm with you. Like, people shouldn't be guilty about it. Like what you like.
Computer.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Permanent Record Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, please go to patreon.com/TVDudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter at TV Dudes, and help us out on iTunes by giving us a 5-star rating and writing a review. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and permanentrcrd.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.